Is your country sexually grooming you and your kids? Sexual grooming involves exposure to sexual information. Paedophilia, in conventional usage, characterized by sexual interest in prepubescent children or attempts to engage in sexual acts with prepubescent children. The education system is dangerous. Boycott the education system.
And I'm going to read you some stats on Friday. So Friday was June 1st. Friday was the first day of Pride Week in New Brunswick. We have 90,000 students, K-12, in New Brunswick. Guess how many stayed home on Friday? I'm going to give you the exact number here. 31,000. 31,000 students stayed home from school Friday for the first day of Pride Month. That is a big issue, and it was addressed immediately. That has never happened in the history of New Brunswick, that many students stayed home from school. So they asked why, and they went into quick action.
193 member countries of the United Nations agreed to the Global 2030 Agenda, page 17 of the document called The Journey Towards Comprehensive Sexuality Education, Global Status Report, published in year 2021 by United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, known as UNESCO, states, within the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs, agreed by governments in 2015 to guide development priorities globally until 2030, Goal 4 on achieving quality education for all includes an optional thematic indicator, specifically focusing on sexuality education. Is your country sexually grooming you and your kids? Sexual grooming involves exposure to sexual information. Paedophilia, in conventional usage, characterized by sexual interest in prepubescent children or attempts to engage in sexual acts with prepubescent children. The education system is dangerous. Boycott the education system. Judicial review or legal case about sexual grooming, also known as sexuality education, or child sexual exploitation, or CSE, or comprehensive sexuality education, or out-of-school comprehensive sexuality education, or biology, or HIV and life skills, or personal and social development, or PSHE, or RSE, or sex and relationships education, or sexual abuse prevention education, or etc. That is, sexual exploitation, or pedophilic whims, or sexual assault, or sexual abuse, or sexual grooming, where United Nations country member UK, also known as the British Empire, country's agent, a legal group called Pedophile Information Exchange, wanted society to recognize children's right to certain sexual freedoms, children to be given sex education to normalize and desensitize sex to children, children to be given far more comprehensive sexual education, claim children can express consent. In the interview by country's agent, a public service broadcaster called British Broadcasting Corporation, known as BBC, pedophilia, in conventional usage, characterized by sexual interest in prepubescent children, or attempts to engage in sexual acts with prepubescent children. Sexual grooming includes exposure to sexual information, or proactively, or covered up, or preferred, or willfully, or permitted, or committed, or promoted, or worsened, or praised, or certified, or profited, or warranted, or disguised, or encouraged, or helped, or used, or forced upon the public, from age 3, through the whole education system approach, forcing sexual thoughts, sexual beliefs, sexual behaviors, sexual relationships, sexual intimacy, sexual roles, sexual desires, sexual interests, sexual identities, reproduction, sexuality, etc., are central aspects of being human. Is sexuality education, where all thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, relationships, intimacy, roles, desires, interests, identities, existence, etc., of all human beings, such as adults, infants, unborn, etc., are presumed to be sexual. Base sexuality education from birth, that is sexual exploitation from birth, delivered across the environment of formal or non-formal places by countries' tools or agents such as the human rights laws, countries' laws, authorities, education system, individuals, etc., part of the 193 countries of United Nations known as UN, Global Education 2030 Agenda for Education for All, which includes jointly developed guidelines by United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization known as UNESCO, World Health Organization known as WHO, International Planned Parenthood Federation known as IPFF, German Federal Center for Health Education known as BSGA, a WHO Collaborating Center known as UCC. While parents considering home education